All right, welcome. We're back over here now at the allocation portion of the profit pricer. And the allocation is down here on MP9, and I want to show you that there's 4 tabs for allocation. However, you're only going to be working in MP9 because whatever you put in MP9 is going to roll over to all the other tabs just by putting it in this top section up here. Now, I don't want you to get too wrapped around the axle about, well, this person is in this department, this person is in this department. It really doesn't matter. You have to pay the bill, whether that department has cost or not, because you're employing it or you've already committed to the expense. So, bottom line is we want to level out the expense across departments that makes sense to us on our pricing side of it. So how we do that. So let's just kind of give an indication. If we come back here to the production tab, how we want to do that. So I've got 6 people working the plumbing department, and I got 6 people working in the HVAC department. So, you know, a start might be that we just allocated it all the same. So we'll take 40% here, take 10% here, because I only had 1 installer, I had 5 crews, I had 4 here and 2 there, so I may put in 35 here and put in 15 here. So there's 50-50 divided it up. I got 100% all the way across. Let's see what that came out with on the price. So you got to start somewhere. So you start there, you come over here and you say, okay, I'm going to be selling my plumbing service for $389, my plumbing install for $2,000 a day, my HVAC service for $490, and my install for $1,740. Well, doesn't quite smell right, so I'm going to go back in here and try to level out my service departments and level out my installation departments. So I'm going to come in here and just, let's say, I'm going to keep the 40 there. I think that looks like a right number. I'm going to bump. Remember, you can't overdo something, so you can't go over 100, otherwise the program doesn't like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in let's say 11% here, and 26% here, and 23 I think will bring us to 100. So yeah, so we'll just allocate it this way, and let's see what that looks like. See if that smells better. I got 389, 396, pretty close. 2241, 2313, close enough. So I'll just leave it right there. So that will be my selling price based off of a 25% net profit. And your book price for your service department will be, if you're given a 15% discount, it'll be $458 and $466 respectively. If you're given a 10% discount, then your book price will be $433 and $440. Personally, I like 10% because technicians can do the math. I know a lot of people want to give 15% away. We're just building the price up 15%. Remember, that 15% isn't come out of your pocket. I still want you to make 25%. Okay? And 25% is a minimum. I'm just going to give you a little story about that. I remember back in 1990 when I was talking to Frank Blau about creating my right selling price, and I told Frank, I said, Frank, and Frank was talking to me about 35% net profits back then, right? So that's where I ended up starting at, and continued to stay there. But I said to Frank in the conversation, I said, you know, Frank, should I be happy with 10? And he said, you know, Jim, you're not good enough to manage your company to 10. And kind of looked at him going, well, that was ballsy, but you know, at the same time, he was right. Because he went on to say, he says, you know, if you miss by 15%, you're going to lose 5%. If you put it at 35 and you miss by 15%, you're still making 20%. And he was right. I was young, I was green in the business, and I didn't know anything. I thought I did, but I didn't know anything. So I listened to Frank, I put it at 35%. We're saying here minimum 25. 35 would be absolutely awesome. Okay? And this is where 35 could be. And this is real. This is not a stretch at all. So I'm just going to keep it at 35 here for you. But anyways, no less than 25% net profit on any department, please. Okay? So that's how you use the allocation. Don't get wrapped around the axle by coming over here saying, well, my customer service reps really don't do a lot for my installation department. They're more over here, so I should weight more of that over here. Get over yourself. You have this whole cost, okay? This whole cost is what you have to cover. And all of your departments have, oh, what happened there? Oh, I'm loading up a YouTube video for another deal. Okay. Got the tutorial previous to this rendering, and it just popped up on YouTube. Anyways, so don't overthink this strategy, okay? Just make sure it's 100% up here, and you come back here as a sanity check, and try to keep your installation departments the same and your service departments the same. I think that's probably the best advice I can give you on that. All right? So again, now let's talk about the thought process here. If this is your selling price, how did you get there? Well, we talked earlier, here's your direct cost, and that direct cost came from MP1 tab. The holiday vacation, that came from the MP2, shows up on MP3. I'll show you this number of cost for the vacation days. And then on MP5, you're going to see this unproductive time. It's 47, and the unproductive time per day and unproductive time per hour. To give up your total labor, okay, per hour per day by department. Then you have your overhead cost. You're taking all of that overhead cost from MP85, okay, and you're dividing it by all of your hours that this department is going to bring in. So it's burdened with covering $214 in overhead an hour, $1,180 in overhead a day, $205.16 per hour, and $1,234.12 per day. Okay, so your break even is a sum of this 78 and 214 is going to give you your break even. Your break even is your most important number. Break even, you can't make profit until you've reached break even. So you have to understand your break even. And your coach will go over some situations where where you absolutely have to understand where your break even is, especially if you're in a competitive bid situation. All right, so understand what your break even is. And if you don't understand this math, get with your coach to make sure you absolutely understand this math. Okay? And now some of you may be picking yourself off the chair right now because you're seeing this price. I'm looking at this price saying, that's too low. But I've been around this for about 25 years, so it's still pretty low. Okay. All right, guys, I will talk to you soon.